friends and let this party never end.
Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome to the Code S GSL round of 16, day 1. I am Unstable, joined here by Wolf. How are you feeling today, Wolf?
I'm feeling great today, Unstable. I'm actually really excited to cast these games.
Yeah, so am I. I've had a little bit of a break, but I'm back now. Pain-free.
Yeah,
I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But
he had a lot of tooth problems, but it's all good now. Remember, guys, our title sponsor is Pepsi. You can see it like right here. You should go get a drink. I actually really love Pepsi. That's why I'm so excited that the GSL.
Yeah, we're just on a sugar high because we drank so much Pepsi in the last hour getting ready for this because there's going to be 4 amazing sets coming up. But we're going to start off. We're going to start off with NesTea versus Ensnare.
Ensnare, yeah.
It's going to be good.
It is going to be good. I think Ensnare's got his work cut out for him. Obviously, NesTea way the favorite to win this, but
he's the favorite in everything he does these days.
Yeah, pretty much. He hasn't really had that many challenges yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he does lose sometimes here and there. Sometimes.
It's very rare.
It's very rare. Usually makes it extremely far. And when he meets these lesser-known players, I mean, Ensnare, he's not a lesser-known player, but he's a player who you don't expect a lot out of. He just hasn't been that successful since his first runs through in the open seasons.
But he's still in Code S. That's the main thing. He's definitely not a weak player. We haven't seen something amazing from him because he does always go up against people like NesTea. But he's still a very strong player to even stay in Code S. Always keeps himself up there. So we'll be good to go. And, of course, you can follow all this action on gomtv.net. You can follow them on Twitter, twitter.com/gomtv. You can follow myself at FXO Unstable. You can follow Wolf at FXO Wolf. I'm running out of things to say.
Well, I'd also like to mention you can go to m.gomtv.net on your mobile phone or on your regular browser. It's actually just a more simplified version of the website. So if you go on your regular browser, that's also fine. Like, try it right now and check it out. You might actually like it more than the regular website. Just because if you don't want to use any of the other stuff, you just want to watch VODs. Yeah. Or you just want to look at the schedule, especially the schedule. Like, you load up that site, it's like, boom, right in your face, the schedule. You can't get away from it. It's really simple. So I definitely recommend checking it out.
But, of course, we are going to start it off with NesTea and Ensnare. Like we were saying, the first map is going to be Crevasse. Very interesting TVZ map. What do you think? Well,
obviously, a lot of Zergs kind of dislike this map because the Terran gets, quote-unquote, a free base if he wants it. And so a lot of Zergs really get frustrated by that. But they also get their own free base. Not a lot of early pressure on this map. Usually, sometimes Slayer's Boxer likes to change things up and put barracks in the middle of the map. But otherwise, you don't see a lot of early pressure on this map. It's a very 2-base oriented map because the 3rd base is actually pretty far away and relatively difficult to defend. So a lot of the time you do see 2-base aggression from a Terran player or Pro S player, while the Zerg struggles to hold that 3rd base or vice versa.
Well, the rocks at the bottom of the ramp also take a big part because it is a very wide open ramp. Half of it is covered by the Zerg, but they're not weak. They're weakish rocks.
They have less armor than regular destructible rocks.
So we're going to look at the brackets now. Of course, today we have NesTea versus Ensnare first up. Second, MVP's Genius versus Zenix Coca. I really want to see that game.
Yeah, that should be awesome.
Coca has extremely impressed me from the last games we saw of him. And of course, StarTale's Trickster, new member on the StarTale roster versus TSL's Clyde. That'll be interesting. And of course, last but not least, OGS Top versus IM's Lucira. TBT to end things off. Wait, that's
TVZ. I'm sure it was.
You know what? I looked at you for a second, I looked back, and I only looked at the actual things, and they changed the slide on me. I was like, that doesn't sound right. But of course, then we have Zinio and Hong and Prime, Huck versus MC, Beyond and Nada, and of course, Pult Prime, now known as Optimus, and StarTale's Bomber. So, lots and lots of amazing games coming up in the next couple of days, Wolf.
How do you feel about his name change to Optimus?
That's my thought.
I actually just really dislike it.
Really? Why?
It just takes away from his ID. I don't like it when pro gamers change their IDs after they've used them for a really long time, and it's something completely different. It's like, I don't really like this. I mean, when Marine King changed from Boxer or aka Foxer to Marine King, it was hard for me to take that, even though he was really good with Marines, but I kind of grew accustomed to it.
But that one makes sense, and so does this, though.
Well, Optimus is a switch because the Prime clan had this long-saying joke that they would change the name to Optimus Prime if they won a tournament.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like symbolic for them, too. But if he slumps and never does well again, then does someone else become Optimus? What happens then?
Looks like it. But of course, as we were saying before, today's matchup, we have NesTea versus Ensnare, Genius versus Coca. I don't know. It's going to be very close, I think. I can't really pick a winner. Like, I can see favorites, but I can't sit there and go, yes, he's going to win that match.
Well, I think Ensnare might actually surprise us today.
Yeah.
I gotta say, when I watched him play in the group stages, he did a lot better than I expected him to. Played a lot better than he did in the Super Tournament and in previous GSLs. I kind of thought this guy might be falling down into the up and down matches, but he's shown some great promise. And, you know, he showed a lot of promise before, back in the earlier stages. He's got a lot of players to practice with on this team OGS. Now here's our other players. We've got Startail, Trickster, TSL Clyde, Top, and Lysira. Lysira versus Top, I think, will be a really, really close match. Lysira, obviously, a great, great player, but Top has always been good and is improving rapidly.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Trickster did surprise me. I'm not sure about you, but in his group stages, I believe he did lose to July and then came back and beat him because he was in the group that had Rain that dropped out, so it was a little bit of a weird situation.
Yeah, that was
there.
a really weird group.
But ended up losing to July in the first map. Came back and beat him in the second one. Because of his results, he was actually better off.
Yeah.
It happens, but...
These things do happen.
Yeah.
Trickster, not a player who's overall impressed me a whole lot since the beta, but he's always shown, you know, really solid play. He's not extremely creative, but he's always solid.
Of course, we have the stats here for NesTea, Lim J Duck. On the team, I am Incredible Miracle, ranking second overall in his points throughout the entire GSL history. Round of 32 versus July. And his record versus Terran is pretty impressive. 14 wins, 6 losses. And even his last 10 sets, 7 wins to 3. So definitely is a good contender.
Yeah, you can see his stats on there. Losing to Top, though, recently, it was kind of interesting because Top may advance here, and then if he does end up facing him later on, that could be a problem for him.
And of course, NesTea, a very tall person as well.
He actually is a very tall person.
Yeah.
For those of you guys who don't know, NesTea is probably 6'3", if not 6'4". He's actually extremely tall.
He's really...
Like, when he comes into the studio, you can't not notice. He's wearing that, you know, I am jersey, you can see that black one. He just comes in the room, and there's like these big shadows come in the room. He's a big presence, man.
Everyone stops and just parts ways for him.
They do, actually. He's not even joking. That actually happens. I mean, he's one of the older players, too. A lot of people really, really respect this guy. And they should, man.
Yeah. Of course, here we have Ensnare, Kim Sang-chul from OGS. Not as an impressive ranking as NesTea, but still good overall. Recently, he did have wins over Violet and lost to Clyde, unfortunately. But I believe that was the group stages.
Yeah. Well, if you look at his ranking, it's 24th, but if you look at his points, it's 1,300. NesTea, I believe, had 7,700.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how big of a difference there is really between 24th and 1st, and how NesTea has really won overwhelming amounts of games. And you can even look at Ensnare's most recent 10 sets and see that he's actually lost the majority of them, to see that, you know, he is definitely not really the favorite here. He did win over Violet twice recently, and that's pretty impressive. Violet's a very strong player, so maybe his TVZ is improving a little bit. I mean, I have to say, when I watched him play, I thought so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's hard to see the trends that players have when they're playing people like NesTea and the caliber of that kind of player, because you don't get a good, accurate picture of how good they are on a whole. And I want Ensnare to break out into him to show people how good he really is. But that being said, it is NesTea. It's going to be hard.
It is going to be hard, man. For Boss, a map that there are a lot of hidden bases to take on. NesTea can play his style, he can take the entire map, spread his creep. And Ensnare, I don't know, Ensnare is one of those players who used to play a macro style, but I think he's kind of struggling with that right now. I don't know if you know what I mean, but before he used to always do fast expand builds. He was one of those players back in the beta who was making that happen. And now, you know, that's not really his style anymore. He's transitioned to more of a timing, push-oriented attack, and then take a base attack, and then take a base type of style. Yeah. And NesTea's really good against that, I have to say. Yeah,
especially in Crevasse, there are a lot of places they can hide those expansions, and it'll be up to Ensnare to really be on the ball, take that one out. But of course, the map is loading, Wolf.
It is loading.
Get into it. Of course, the eliminated maps, Zelnaga for NesTea, and then it was Terminus for Ensnare. Not many tournaments liking Terminus these days.
That's very true. They are struggling on a larger map, but we're going to jump into the first game. Who will take it? Will it be NesTea or the challenger Ensnare? Let's find out here at GSL Code S. I am Wolf, and with me is Unstable.
Alrighty, down here at the bottom right-hand corner we have our Red Zerg hailing from IM. Currently ranked second in points for the GSL. Former champion.
I am NesTea.
Former 2-time champion.
That's true. Lots of fans for NesTea here.
NesTea. University of Nevada. I think it said Minjae and Scotty. Kyle, Jason, Tom, and Litu Vaughn. Or Van, I guess. I would assume it's Vaughn, but.
And then
some
his
shout-outs
opponent
there.
down here at the bottom left-hand corner, our yellow Terran. He is.
Known as.
Ensnare.
Chewing some bubble gum. You just gotta do the other part.
Some players do have that thing that they like to do during the whole game. Like I've seen players who like to jiggle their leg a bit, like just rock it up and down the whole game. And then sometimes when they don't notice, they're hitting a table and it's just like constant banging and they don't notice. But everyone else
really weird.
in the LAN center, it's like, what is going on? But some people like chewing on something while they go as well.
It's true, man. Now, right now, NesTea's gone for a hatch first. He's actually squeezed out 2 more drones as well. He's going to go for a 16 pull after that. Ensnare looks to be skipping his gas. Pretty common to see on this map. He's probably going to be going for a 1 barracks expand. There's the pull down. Actually made that pull at 17 and not 16, I believe.
Well, you can get away with stuff like that.
Yeah, he's really squeezing out the drones, man. He's doing his best he can to get every little drone out. And I really like that because on a map like this, you just absolutely can.
Yep. But of course, we do see a 1 rack expand coming in from Ensnare, as we predicted. It's pretty much a standard on this map that it does go into a 2, sometimes 3 base kind of stuff. And it's fairly easy to defend this as well.
When you take that 3rd base as a Terran on this map, sometimes it's pretty hard to hold because it's very wide open. Zerg can attack from several locations. For example, if you have mutas that run the Marines into the main, then Speedlings come into the I guess you could call it a natural. It's based on the outside. When that happens,
indoor
it gets
natural.
Yeah. So the mutas come to the backdoor base, and at the front, you've got the Speedlings there. It's kind of far away. It is relatively difficult to defend that.
But at the same time, it's also difficult for Zerg to defend drops at the same time as well.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
it's give and take.
Exactly. So this SUV does come in here, sees the hatch first, and Snare has already added 2 additional barracks. He's going into 3 barracks here. He's taking the backdoor gas, which is a rich Vespene geyser. You can call it a high-yield gas. And so what he's probably going to do here is put on a lot of pressure with some Marines as he starts teching up. Probably going to go Marine tank, I would assume. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Talking about that rich Vespene geyser, though, a lot of Zergs these days are putting their 3rd bases across the other side of the map just to get that geyser, because they can get away with losing less resources if it is actually found, because they really just want that gas, especially in muta-heavy play or infesta-heavy play that's becoming a little bit more popular these days. That's all they really care about. They don't really want that extra base for the minerals, they just need that gas.
Yeah, it's very true. In the early game, it's so important because you might say, well, Wolf, I mean, if you just put the gas in his main, he would have twice as much gas, but the thing is you use less drones to mine that same amount of gas. I mean, not the same amount, it's almost the same amount, but it's kind of a give and take, but you get that extra mineral mining at the same time. That's why it's so much more important. It's so worth it. 6 drones in production, 7 drones in production. As a fast lair is started for NesTea. Ensnare moves out on the map. He tried to control the watchtower, but unfortunately cannot, so NesTea does see this coming.
Well, like you were saying, he wants to squeeze out as many drones as he can. And that is really going to help him. As long as he can get that timing to produce that 1 round of units that he needs to survive, the further and further ahead he'll be. And because these Marines are running fairly slow, he's had a good eye on them the entire time. He knows exactly when to react to it.
He has started a few more lings. He's up to 8 lings. He's got 4 more in production. He's going to be up to 12. But there are 11 Marines out right now. And, of course, about 9 of them are running in here to the main.
Lings don't have speed yet, but he might get a surround on these guys anyway. Oh my god, he actually got a surround with slow Lings.
Yeah, and the speed finishes. He cleans those up without a problem. No cleans lost. Very few Zerglings really having to die in that battle. Only about 4 of them there.
Well, if you have a look at the Queen's health, I think they took a lot of damage. No. Really?
No, man. The Marines just weren't firing because he was trying to micro a little bit, and then he got caught in a weird spot while he was taking damage, and then...
That's why you don't run onto the creep. That is the Zerg's home.
Gotta be careful, yeah. You know, it's like running into someone's house with a baseball bat. He's gonna probably get a little concerned about it. Alright, so these Marines actually will deter these Zerglings, but the Zerglings will see the tech lab, and in fact, they may start picking away at it. I don't think he will, though, because not gonna be able to take it out fast enough. Starport finishing up. more reactors going down, so he's going to have a reactor for that starport. He's actually going to be just using these 3 barracks, 2 of them with reactors, so he is going to be going for that marine tank composition. Most likely we'll be seeing him add a tech lab here. Very fast infestors with that lair tech coming out for NesTea. He's researching those pathogen glands. He's going to start his infestors as the pathogen glands will finish, so the infestors and pathogen glands will finish at the same time. Something that a lot of Zergs are doing right now, and more Zergs should be doing right now.
Well, they're trying to phase out Banelings, because sometimes you can get got in the position, but...
We caught a supply drop on TV. Isn't that embarrassing?
Yeah, as I was saying, the Terran's getting so good at marine splitting now, sometimes it's just not cost effective to go Banelings, and Zergs are trying to figure out a way to make it more cost effective, and a lot of them are using infestors so much more now. It's great to see.
Well, the problem with going infestors sometimes is you don't have a Spire, and when you don't have a Spire, Ensnare drops, you know, about 11 Marines into your base, and, or in this case, 15 of those Marines are going to be dropped in this base.
But 5 infestors in production now.
Yeah, they're not going to be out in time to save these drones, but the drones will flee.
Or it could not drop.
Well, yeah, he's
there.
He
Is
finally. He
was just getting out of range of the spine crawl. He's going to do a lot of damage here, as there's not many links. He could actually just focus down this.
Stim isn't done yet, and as soon as Stim's finished, he may try to target down this lair.
There we go. NesTea coming in with his lings now. He's actually nice job by Ensnare, moving only the units being attacked at the time, getting a lot of kills. There's just nothing here. There's nowhere near as many Zerglings as he needs. And there we go. There goes the infestors coming out. Of course, they do have that upgrade, so they can fungal immediately. Cleans that up, but he lost so many drones then.
Yeah, I think pulling the drones was a little bit of a...
Well, he had to choose between his lair or his drones.
I think he could have maybe saved the lair, though, if he just waited a little bit
But he's actually dropped onto the creep.
Oh,
not going to get away from that. Throwing some infested terrors. I don't think he has enough for another fungal. He does. He gets that. 2 of those dropships are going to go down. Got that one with full of units.
Oh, man, that was so intense. And actually, the second dropship very low as well, but he does get it out of there. But like you were saying, the one that had all the units and it did go down. Ensnare actually going to supply cap NesTea, though, with this Viking. Right now, Carap is being researched. NesTea actually has no other upgrades to speak of.
Well, he does have that 3rd up now, and also he does have a macro hatch that we didn't mention just yet in his main that's really helping him to push out as many links, because when you're very infestor heavy, you need something to cover for them, and the best thing for that for our Zerg players is going to be links.
This is true. Reactor Medevac's coming out here. He does have a tank, siege mode, about to finish here. He's going to hit this timing where, even though there are a few fungals left, it might not be enough. He's just got to control his Marines properly, try to target down those infestors. There's really just not that many lings out, is the thing.
Yeah.
And if you send Marines forward in very small groups, it's great. 5 more infestors on the way, though. Remember, all of those are going to start with the fungal. He does have the upgrade.
The one thing that irks me about infestors is once they use those fungals, they're just sitting there. And sometimes it's very close to have enough units to back them up. But he does, of course, catch these for Marines out the front.
You send the small groups of Marines forward, so it's very cost efficient. Those fungals almost wasted, really. And Ensnare's upgrades right now, he does have +1 attack, doesn't have that armor upgrade just yet. NesTea looks like he may want to push up here, though.
He does. Lings coming through. They actually get a surround on half of these Marines. Nice fungals on top of the tank as well. The Lings here, looks like they might be cleaned up, though. And this is the frustrating thing that I was talking about. Didn't have enough to clean it up. Yeah,
if you don't have enough to clean it up, you just don't go. NesTea getting a little overzealous there. He does have a lot of investors back home. He's bought time with this as well. With Ensnare getting stronger and stronger as more reinforcements come in, he actually has so many Marines queued up on his barracks that he probably could have added another few, and in fact, he does start adding some armory going up here. And I'm kind of surprised that Ensnare hasn't... Oh, there, he actually did have it in command, so he just hasn't moved it yet. He needs to be taking that 3rd base as he pressures like this. He's not going to be able to end the game with a push of this kind.
No, but he's going to go for a drop here, loading that dropship, going for the in-base natural. But he's changed his mind. Again.
Indecisive Ensnare. Oh, is he going to Ensnare? Nope.
No, but the Lings come up the ramp, going straight through. Fungal growth on a whole big clump of those Marines. I don't think Ensnare expected him to come at him right then. Lings coming in from behind as well has completely cleaned up that force, but he has dropped onto the cliff right into a spine crawler and hasn't been able to pay attention just yet. Pulling back as best he can, but that is great for NesTea now. He's stopped that little semi-contain that was up on that ramp, and he just has nothing but time.
Exactly. These infestors actually not having to use as many fungals during that engagement, starting to build a ton of energy, and he's going to drop over here again. Not really doing a whole lot, though.
Nicely positioned spine crawlers by NesTea, though. It's buying him time to get his units back there.
Now, during all of this, NesTea has decided to take a 4th mining base, and Ensnare just now dropping mules at his 3rd. Drop again back here, cleaned up really easily by Ensnare.
Well, it's the same dropship. It's only had a couple of minions in it for a while.
Yeah.
It is going to die if it gets like one more
Yeah,
fungal
if
off
a
on it.
queen sees it, it's going to die.
Or there's an infestor sitting right at the indoor natural. But lots of units being rallied out at the front of Ensnare's base. Yeah, also has his Spire up now.
Yeah, that
going
Spire,
to 5.
I believe, was actually scouted by Ensnare, so that's really, really important. He does see it. Now, from here, he's actually added a Ghost Academy. I love this, because if you get that Ghost Academy up, that means that your opponent is not going to be able to use Infestors as well. There's Snipe that comes into play, so Snipe is great against all Zerg units. If you didn't know, all Zerg units are biological, even the structures.
Yep. It adds an extra dynamic into the play because he's trying to EMP the Infestors. The Zerg is trying to get an Overseer there to see what's going on. He can snipe the Overseer itself. The Ghost can also cloak, making that Overseer needed, etc. But he's also getting some Corruptors out now. The Infestor Broodlord transition into the late game is extremely difficult for Terrans to deal with these days.
Indeed it is. NesTea up about 7 supply here. There's the Greater Spire. Ghosts are going to be on the way here pretty soon. He has that Academy. He hasn't made any Ghosts just yet, and I think the reason is because he doesn't have any Tech Labs on his barracks, and that is the reason. He has only 1 Tech Lab. But he's going to start those Ghosts pretty soon.
I'm really surprised he's moving out before those Ghosts come out because you could really use them. A lot of these Infestors have heaps of energy now.
I think he's trying to bait out some Fungals, try to bait the Infestors also into Siege Tanks. It's just not really working. NesTea sees his plan. He's going to drop again here. And these drops just really haven't done a whole lot because NesTea's done such a great job with his spine positioning.
Well, he's got the spine crawl, and there's even an Infestor there with 2 Fungals. There's 4 dropships coming down. Unfortunately for this Infestor, he can't catch both of them. There's 1 Fungal, just waiting to the perfect time. Second one. Lots of those Marines go down. He will be able to clean it up with the reinforcements coming through. But there's the extra 2 dropships going into the main as well. NesTea all over Ensnare in this game.
Uh-oh, he might fungal the dropships. He does fungal them. They will be taken out here. This is looking really bad for Ensnare. And gets it.
I was worried that was going to get away for a second. Then, of course, you do have a 3rd dropship sitting outside of the base there. Doesn't know what to do. And here we go. 8 Broodlords in production.
Yeah, that is actually 8 Broodlords.
And there's a dropship just saying hi.
That sees those. Now he's going to wish he started making Ghosts. He does have some Vikings on the way. He's already got 1 out, 2 more about to pop. Vehicle weapons level 1 about to finish, +2 armor about to finish for the infantry, so he's going to have 2 upgrades for his Marines. Thor's on the way as well. And finally, the first Ghost in production, the Mobius Reactor. Time to finish with that Ghost, but he's going to need a lot more than 1 Ghost for this.
Yeah, he is. There's a lot of Lings here. Fungal growth going down a nice group of units, but losing a few Lings there that he didn't really have to.
Right now, Ensnare only behind by 7 supply. NesTea having he had a lot of resources banked up. He's really invested in these Broodlords.
But as you say that, it's a drop coming in that is taking out the 12 o'clock base here for NesTea. He, of course, does have 4 bases right now, including the 5th hatchery in his main, so he's not starved for supply at all. He's sending a big group of Lings up to defend that, bringing his Broodlords forward down here as well, just pushing Ensnare back into his base. He's forced to unsiege. He needs to get out of there.
He needs to use those Vikings in such a way that they cannot be fungled, which is very difficult to do. That's why he needs those Ghosts. He's got 3 Ghosts in production. That's going to put him up to 4. He does have the energy upgrade. These tanks starting to fall, though, to the Broodlords. All right, here come the Vikings. But there's a Corruptor. There's Infestors.
Oh, all those Marines are grouped up so tightly as well. Corruptor's coming in to finish off this Viking. He's just pushing Ensnare back further and further. As we were saying, he just can't really do anything against this because he's going to get fungled on all his Marines.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. But the EMP does go down. He can't finish it up with the second fungal. That would have been huge for NesTea if he could do that. Nice reaction by Ensnare. Now he's coming forward. He's trying to pick off these Broodlords as best he can, but I don't think there's enough Marines.
He's not targeting them with the Marines. He's like attacking Corruptors. He's in a lot of trouble here.
GG!
NesTea takes game 1. You know, he used the EMP on the Infestors, which saved all his Marines, but I bet after that he was like, if I only had 3 more Ghosts, maybe I could have sniped some of those Broodlords a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, he didn't control his Marines all that well in that fight, but even so, it was almost an unwinnable situation from when you have 8 Broodlords out and you have that many Infestors and you have tons of upgraded Speedlings and your opponent has more bases than you, you're stuck on 3 bases. It's hard.
Yeah, well, he's backed into the wall as well. He can't move forward because of all those Broodlords that were just Broodlings getting in the way everywhere. His tanks were pretty much useless to him at that point in time because what can they hit? He's just staying back. He's sitting back behind with his Infestors, just waiting for those Marines to come forward to just fungal as many as he could, as we saw. And you cannot have clumped up Marines versus Infestors. It is free for them to fungal those. It's energy. It always comes back.
Yeah, it does. That was a rough game for Ensnare. You know, the cool thing about what he was doing was he realized you're going Infestor, so I'm just going to drop you in like 4 different places at once. But NesTea always had that one Spine Crawler, or maybe sometimes 2, in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
And so he didn't even need the Muse to defend the drop. So that's always the weakness of Infestor play, is if you don't have an Infestor at each base and a Spine, it's like really difficult to manage all of that.
Well, he did have really good reactions on his Lings to come and defend it. He also had that Infestor sitting in the main base just to dart back and forth if he had to, so he could still defend it, but it takes time to get enough Infestors to be safe at your front and then also be able to defend those drops as well. So it was really nicely done by NesTea, but we'll see how he goes in Game 2. The next map is going to be Metalopolis, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It is?
It is, man.
And there we go. See it down there. How do you think this map's going to play out compared to the last one?
Well, the difference between this map and the last one is that when Ensnare wants to take his base, he can't do it as easily, so we're most likely not going to see a passive type of 1 barracks into expand build from him. He's going to have to do some sort of pressure. Maybe 2 racks, maybe Reactor Hellions, maybe some sort of Banshee into expand type of build. He can't just really sit back and macro, whereas NesTea is going to be concerned as well about his natural. He's going to be concerned about what kind of pressure is going forth. We're going to see a much more aggressive early game on a map like this.
Well, it just shows Ensnare has a lot of options, and compared to the last game, it's going to show that NesTea can play a very tight, quick, fast game compared to the last one, which was very passive on his end until the very end. It looks like we're going to get into the game right now.
Yep, Ensnare versus NesTea. Will NesTea close it out, or will Ensnare tie it up? Let's find out here at the GSL Codes.